Hi, and welcome back to the Consult a Counselor series where I answer parenting related questions so that you can be present and at ease with your child and live life mindfully. Today's question is 7 years old too young to get my kid a phone? This question I have a very strong opinion on. You first have to consider your child's maturity levels because at 7, many kids are still developing the ability to handle responsibility. Ask yourself, can your child keep track of their belongings? Can they follow rules? And can they use technology responsibly? Or you can also ask yourself, would I give my child a key to our home and allow them to walk to and from school by themselves or to take a public bus by themselves? Those examples may seem a bit extreme. However, giving your child a phone with internet access is like sending them out into the world on their own and potentially allowing them to invite all of their friends into your home without permission. There are very few parents that get their kids a flip phone to make calls. Remember those? Typically, we give them a smartphone because we may not want them to feel embarrassed, but that is giving them entirely too much access. Some give the argument, well, my kid's going to suffer socially because that's the way that kids stay connected nowadays. However, I think that there are more negative social implications than positive. Phones can expose to kids to social media, to texting and online interactions that they may just not be ready for. Working with kids for 20 years, I can't even tell you the number of stories that parents find themselves in because they gave their kids access to a phone either too early or without enough guidelines and boundaries. From seeing inappropriate images to receiving inappropriate photos, whether they wanted to or asked them for them or not, sending inappropriate photos because they thought it was going to one person they trusted or because they thought that the picture would just disappear, to feeling pressured to do something inappropriate online while they were being recorded because they felt threatened. I know these stories sound extreme and perhaps scary, but that's the reality of what sometimes happens. And these are just anecdotes, but then there, of course, is statistical data. The American College of Pediatricians note that increased screen time is associated with higher rates of depression and anxiety among kids of all ages. In addition to that, research indicates that more screen time is linked with shorter sleep duration, decreased sleep efficiency, and longer sleep onset delay in children. And excessive screen time has been associated with an increased risk of obesity in kids due to sedentary behavior and exposure to advertisements promoting unhealthy foods. So I want you to think about the why. If we were to break it down, phones have three purposes. First, they obviously entertain, they're for safety and to stay in touch. If the purpose is to keep your child entertained, there are many options like tablet with parental controls or handheld gaming devices like a Switch that they can be entertained with. If the purpose is safety in terms of location, there are other options like gizmos or Apple Watches, which have GPSs in them. And what it seems we least tend to use our phones for, communication. If the phone is for communication and safety, like staying in touch when they have after school activities or when they're with a babysitter of some sort, it might make sense to provide a basic phone without internet access or apps or an alternative to that. Personally, I'll share when my son was going into third grade, he was going to be staying after school for activities. And that's when my husband and I had this conversation with each other. And we found it important to have communication with him. So, what we did was we got him an Apple Watch. He had his own line on the watch, and we set it up with all types of parent controls so that he was unable to access any of the apps, and he only had four contacts, the two of us and then my parents. And he was unable to receive or make calls or receive or send texts to anyone else outside of those four contacts. Our need was met because the purpose was primarily for safety, to have a location tracker, and for communication. It was not for entertainment purposes. From the parent perspective, it gives your child an appropriate level of responsibility too, because you have to see, can they not lose the device? And secondly, are they going to charge it on their own? And of course, are they going to use it appropriately? And the bonus point for our kids is that starting off with something like a gizmo or an Apple Watch, it can help them feel cool, which boosts their confidence. And of course, again, it teaches them responsibility. And if you do choose to give your child a phone, know that that whole thing with screen time and when they can get on, and then you're fighting for them to get off, and what are they doing on their phone, and can you have access to their phone? That we'll get into a little bit more next week, but it is a lot to think about. So, my personal and professional opinion, I think 7 years old is too much on the younger side for a phone. Most kids don't need one at this age. And you can find roundabout ways to help meet your needs of whatever it is that you want to give them the phone for. And again, if you do go ahead and decide to get them a device early, we'll talk more about that next week. So make sure that you tune in. Ultimately, the decision is completely up to you and your family, and it should reflect your child's needs and their readiness, as well as your family's values and goals around technology. So I do hope that this helped. If you think it can be beneficial to a mom or dad friend, be sure to share it with them. Also, make sure that you hit the subscribe and notification button so that you don't miss the next video. If you have any questions for the Consult a Counselor series, you can always DM me on any platform at Counselor V De Jesus, or you can leave it anonymously via the link in the show notes. And remember, friends, in a world where you are free to be anything that you want to be, you are always free to be mindful. Thanks so much and catch you next time.